Hey everybody, it's Patricia from Atomic Monsters. Going to be reviewing He Man and Battlecat this week. Here I got him with all of his best friends in the entire world, and but we're just going to be focusing actually on He Man. I just thought I'd like everybody would probably enjoy seeing them all together like this. Um, Apologies if my eyes look poofy. I have allergies and they're really acting up right now. So my eyes feel all scratchy and poofy. Now, when I talk about each of them a little bit separately, I want to talk about Battlecat first. Battlecat is kind of iconic as a toy, but he's actually not a very good toy, simply because the mold, they did a lot of corner cutting in designing the He-Man line, and this mold was originally a tiger from the Big Jim line, and the birds in Masters of the Universe are also originally from the Big Jim line. That's why they're also large. And it worked out perfectly as a mount. They just needed the extra filler in the toy line and designed the now iconic armor for him. I'm not going to remove the armor and give you cringer. It's a pain in the ass to try and put it back on. As a collectible, Battlecat's pretty amazing. As a toy, he's kind of, honestly, if you're looking, you can pick up the Origins one, and you can even put your vintage He-Man on it. It would work perfectly fine. But if you want a vintage Battlecat himself is definitely pretty awesome as a collector's piece. 10 out of 10. As a toy, he's about a 5. But He-Man is fantastic. He originally comes with an axe, which you never see him use in the cartoon. He always just uses his sword. Occasionally, I think he uses his shield in the cartoon. But the swords were kind of designed to be secondary weapons. If you look at any of the mini comics, you usually see him with his axe, because the original way we were supposed to be playing with him is with the axe and the shield. And Skeletor got his power staff, and they both came with a sword, which are halves of the sword of power that they were supposed to collect. And with the gimmick originally being that you're supposed to then combine them together. This one's mismatched. There's two different versions of these. You can get ones where they fit together, and then you can use them to open the drawbridge for Castle Grayskull. There's a couple different ways you can make him hold it. You're supposed to put it in his hand like that, and this will just help him hold it. But I see a lot of people often post He-Man figures holding the swords like this, and I know why. It actually just, in a lot of cases, it's more likely to hold it better. But it's also why this breaks most of the time. He-Man's a pretty spectacular toy line, very groundbreaking in a lot of ways. They created their own scale and dimensions. You look at there's a reason they became so ripped off. Is because they designed them to be interchangeable. All the pieces on, if you notice, Man-at-Arms and He-Man are basically the exact same body. For instance, there's a lot of generic and interchangeable parts, so you can just change a head and make a new piece, maybe make a new piece of armor, and you get a completely new character, and swap just legs and whatever and paint it different. And it's why we wound up with so many knockoff wrestlers that are basically He-Man, and Remco literally just ripped off the entire line for their DC Comics Warlord line, and the Galaxy Fighters, which I have a couple of in my collection, are absolutely fantastic, and such. All are He-Man ripoffs for a reason, but also He-Man's probably responsible for what we eventually got from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and other similar toy lines as well. This scale and this chunkiness, this always kind of angry and action pose. If you look at like the typical Now the Ninja Turtles, of course, are shorter than He-Man because they're only supposed to be about 5 feet, 4 feet tall. But you look, they're literally the same idea. He's got all sorts of really, really fun things you can do. They gave him a spring so that they can have sword fights, which is a really, honestly, that's brilliant. Just a simple spring in there. All sorts of action gimmicks on all sorts of figures. If you look at the your typical DC Superpowers figure, though, for instance, which are probably most known for the action gimmick feature in the '80s. Those things are so fragile. Even as a kid, they were always breaking. It's hard to find those now where the action gimmicks on them work, where you squeeze the arms together or the legs together and an action comes out. But this is always going to work. And there's a couple action gimmicks on He-Man that haven't aged so well, such as the battle armor, for instance, on the power battle armor versions of these characters. But that's just, and it works both ways. The rubber on the legs don't usually age well. If I had a complaint about the entire He-Man line, it's the fact that everything is glued and or pressed together, so that if it's impossible to properly repair these without putting eye hooks into the legs and putting in new bands. You can't, for instance, try and swap parts around from one He-Man figure to another if you're the dragstore, for instance. I've broken so many dragstores trying to fix a dragstore. That design is terrible. If I had one thing that I would change about He-Man figures is, in the past, is I would have done like something similar to what G.I. Joe did with a screw in the back. Make them a little bit more easy to repair and mix parts from one figure to the other. Rubber heads, I love classic rubber heads. Squish your brain, squish your brain. And of course, he just looks iconic. Even if you're not a big He-Man fan, I think everybody should have a He Man and a Battlecat in their collection, because that's a 10 out of 10 collectible. Just that right there. I wish he had a proper way of carrying his battle axe or sword separately, though. Like, it'd be really cool if he could hold his axe on his shield in some way, or had a proper scabbard. Anyways, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to talk about He-Man, comment down below, please. And there should be a link in the description to my toy group on Facebook. We're located in Windsor. If you want to come by and browse, say hi, hang out, watch cartoons during the day. I'm Patricia from Atomic Monsters. Have a great week.